going to be for Project 1. Okay, so once again, welcome to our CMA Go-To training on Project 1. Can everyone hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. First place uh, I want to look at for the project is going to be the dashboard because that's where we can find the project and all of our assignments. Um, so when we look at the dashboard, I like the dashboard because it kind of gives us a format for what we can expect. You know, even though the project is in week 1, that's because that's when it opened. It closed in week 2, which is tomorrow on April the 14th. We can see the due date in on the dashboard. So that's what we call the dashboard when you look and see math anxiety discussion, project 1, Alex module 1, and Alex homework quiz 1. Okay, those are all part of week 1 on the dashboard. Whenever you open up the FSO platform and go into your class, the first thing you see is the dashboard. Now, these weights beside it, 5% for the math anxiety, 10% for the project, 5% for module, and 5% for the homework quiz. That's how much uh, this particular assignment counts into your grade. So the project is 10% of your grade. So let's say, for instance, if you didn't do the project, the highest grade you could make in the entire class would be a 90 because 10% of that grade is from project 1. Okay, and of course, we can see March the 30th was when it opened, April the 14th is when it closed out. Okay, so from here, we'll just kind of go in. I have to go in a little different than you guys do because I don't have the student platform. But when I go in, then I'm going to see the movie set and the music studio zip here. I'm not gonna pull them from here because I have them somewhere else. Okay, so I'll cancel out of there. But you'll see zips like this as well that you'll need to open up. Okay, on your dashboard. Okay, so let me close that off. Move over. April classes. Okay, so let's see. So we got movie. So we'll look at the movie one first. Okay, now the first place I like to go is the rubrics. Okay, because that's how you're going to be graded. I mean, the learning part is your own self discovery. You know, that's something that you take with you. The grade is something that's between you and the teacher. So that's something that you kind of need to get input on from the rubric. Okay, the rubric is going to tell you how you're going to be graded for this project. Okay, so I'm going to look at the rubric very carefully. Not only am I going to look at the points, but I'm also going to turn around and look at the criteria because the criteria is going to let me know how much work I need to do. So when I look at the 2D blueprint and they're saying that's worth 10 points. Okay, that's 10% of the whole grade for the project. So, you know, whereas I would like to spend, you know, a ton of time on the blueprint, I should spend about 10% of my time on it because it's worth about 10% of the grade. Okay. Um, there's going to be 4 things that need to be done, 4 criteria. Okay, it needs to have walls and windows and doors. Okay, the measurements need to be present. The blueprint needs to be neat, readable, and professional. That means it can't be hand drawn. Okay, and then the rooms will have to be proportional to dimension. Okay, that means you can't have a really big room and then the dimensions say that it's a small room. Okay, so you got to meet all 4 of those criteria. If you miss one criteria, you'll lose 2 points. Okay, you miss another criteria, you'll lose another 2 points. Okay, so you kind of see, so you know you got to have 4 things for the blueprint. And notice it says 2D. So even though it's going to talk about height, when you do your blueprint, the blueprint needs to be done in 2D. It can't have, you know, walls going up. You wouldn't put walls up on it because it's going to be a flat surface. That's what 2D is. Now the height will be used in working with your conversions. Okay. For section 2, where it talks about dimension changes. Okay. Now the first thing I noticed that 30%, so that's about 30 points. The highest grade you can make if you don't do this portion is a C, which is a 70, the lowest C possible. Well, actually, that's a D. You know. Another thing that I'm going to look to the side, it says all 12 calculations are correct and in proper format. So now I know that I got to perform 12 calculations, okay, in order to get the full amount of credit. Okay, so for the dimension changes, there's going to be 12 calculations. And then the proper format means that we've already provided you with a worksheet for you to put your numbers on and show your work. So that's where you'll uh, use the proper format. If you don't use the worksheet that we provided, you go out and use your own stuff, that's not going to be the proper format. So you'll be losing points for that. Okay, and so you can see where it talks about 25 points. You got all 12 correct, but not proper format. So you're going to be losing about 5 points for not doing the proper format each time. So make sure you use the worksheets that we're providing. Section 3 talks about surface area. Okay, the surface area, there's going to be 15 calculations there. Okay, so it's going to be 15 calculations there, and using proper units and proper format. Units is like square feet, versus cubic feet. Okay, and then the last part is going to be the budget analysis. Okay, and that's 30 points there. There are going to be 5 calculations that's going to need to be done on the budget analysis. Okay, and all 5 calculations have to be, the work have to be shown, and we'll provide a worksheet for that. I think we provide a worksheet for the budget analysis. I think we do. Okay, so that's the rubric. So once I went through the rubrics, fully understand, how I'm going to be graded, the work that I need to do. So I now know that, I got to do a 2D blueprint. I now know that I got to do dimension changes with 12 calculations there. I now know that I got to do a surface area calculations with 15 of those. And I know they got to do some budget analysis, and there are going to be 5 calculations there. So let's say if I look at all my calculations, 5 plus 15 is 20, and 20 plus 12 is 32. So I know I got to do about 32 calculations. Okay, 32 math problems is basically what it equates to. And I got to turn around and do a blueprint. Okay, so that's the power of the rubric. The rubric kind of, it gives me the framework for what I need to do. Now, from the rubric, I'm going to go straight to the directions. Okay, and so when I look at the directions, it kind of lays out what I should be doing and how my work should be done. Okay, now all your work, because you're going to have multiple files, needs to be put in a zip file. Okay, and the learning objectives, these are going to be the things that we're going to work with. Decimals, fractions, percents, integers, and measurements in geometry. So those are going to be our learning objectives. Those are going to be things that, that we're going to learn, or that we're going to demonstrate that we have learned from this project by completing this project. Okay. On the second page, it gives you a layout, homestyle.com and floorplanners.com, places that you can go to pull, a program that will allow you to do your blueprints. And we can see that it says no hand-drawn layouts will be accepted. Okay, let me go ahead and put someone on mute. Cell phone mute. That didn't work. Audio. Attendance. All right, everybody's on mute now. Okay, so on the third page, we're gonna have all the dimensions for room 1, room 2, and room 3. Okay, notice the dimensions are different colors for each room. Okay, so we've got length, width, and height. For the room, we've got height and width for the doors, and we got height and width for the windows. So every room has its own dimensions, and then the door in that room has its dimensions. Now it says door two, okay, which it means there are going to be two doors in room one. And in room two, there'll be one door, and in room three, there'll be one door. Okay, now here it's going to tell you what you need to download and complete. And then you'll need to download again the surface area document and complete it. Now in the surface area, it says you can use either the custom area or metric. It's your choice. Okay, but you couldn't do that on the conversions. On the conversions, you had to do both. And then for section 4, we're going to download the budget and budget analysis. And then we'll complete the budget analysis. Okay, now we provide you with a budget, and then we give you information that we want you to analyze in the budget. Okay, so that's the directions. Okay, so the next place to go, now that I kind of got an idea of what's going on, I'm going to go to the dimension changes, because that's going to be the second thing I do after I completed the 2D layout. So I did my layout first. Now I know my layout doesn't have to be extravagant. It just has to have, my doors, my windows, and my objects in it. Okay, but once again, that's only 10% of the points. And then I also have to make sure I got my dimension layouts, all my, feet or meters or whatever I use to show my dimensions. From here, here's gonna be, now notice here, they're not asking us to do the dimensions for all the rooms. We're only being asked to do the dimensions for uh, room 1 and room 2. For room 1, we're being asked to increase by 24%. And for room 2, we're being asked to decrease by 1/3. Okay, so we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 calculations for room 1. The increases by the customary, and then the increases by the meters. And then for room 2, we're going to have 6 calculations. The decreases by the customary, which is going to be 3, and then the decreases by the meters, which is going to be 3. Okay, so let's pretend that for number 1, it was really 22 feet. Okay, and they wanted us to increase 22 feet by, let's say they gave us 22 feet, and they wanted us to increase that by 24%. The calculation will be performed by taking 22 feet and multiplying it by 1.24. And then our answer would also be in feet. Okay, so, that'll be like 28 or 29 point something feet if we were to do that. Yeah, and you'll, let's see. No, you can just type meters, M, or feet, FT. Okay, as long as you use the adequate abbreviation, you'll be fine. Okay, um, but for the 22 feet, that's going to be 22 times 1.24. That's going to give us 27.28 feet. Okay, so that's how we'll work it. And then we'll do the same thing for the meters. Now, the bottom one talks about decreasing. So let's say we were decreasing it by 20 feet. So let's say we're going to decrease by 20 feet. So we're going to say 20 feet. Yeah, I don't like that color at all. So we're going to take 20 feet and we're going to decrease it by 1/3. So to decrease it by 1/3, we can do this one or two ways. We can take 20 and multiply it by 2/3, and that'll give us our decrease. Or we can take 20 feet, multiply it by 1/3, and then subtract that answer right there from 20 feet. So we could have did it that way. So we'll say 20 feet. And no fair. And I'm going to put subtract here. So we could do it both ways, and then we'll do it the first way. So we'll say 20 times 2 divided by 3 will give us 13.33. And then, of course, it's going to be feet. And then we could also go, okay, so we're going to say 20 feet here. And then we got to multiply 20 feet by 1/3. And then, of course, that's going to be subtracted. So we're going to say 20 feet divided by 3. It's going to give us like 0.667 feet. And then we'll subtract the 2. So we're minus 20 from that. And then that'll give us 13. I don't know why I keep putting a 2 at the end of that feet. That's not working out well. And we still come up with the same answer, whether we do it one way or the other. Yeah, you're right. We have to convert to feet and inches. So that 0.33, we'll take the 0.33 and multiply it by 12 inches, because that's how many inches are in a feet. So that'll give us 0.33 times 12. That'll give us 3.96, which we'll round up to 4. So that's 4 inches. So our final answer will be 13 feet and 4 inches. So that's going to be our final answer, 13 feet and 4 inches. Anytime you have a part of a foot, you can just take that part, which in this case is 0.33, and multiply it by 12. Because in 1 foot, there are 12 inches, and in 0.33 feet, there is 3.96 inches or 4 inches. Okay, so that's that part. Let me clean this up. Okay, yeah, make sure you follow the directions at the bottom, because we show you at the bottom how to convert from a part or a fraction of a foot to inches. Okay, so like you can see at the bottom, they got 0.8 feet, and then that gets multiplied by 12 to come up with 9.6 inches. So, make sure you pay attention to the notes that are provided. Okay, so that is the dimension change. Uh, there's there's going to be 12 there, 6 for the increase and 6 for the decrease. Got to make sure you get them all. Of course, the rubrics told us that they were 12. From there, we'll go to the surface area worksheet. And here's our surface area worksheet here. Okay, and so we're looking where it's talking about the walls. Okay, we got the height and the width of the walls. Okay, to find the area. So to find the area, we simply multiply those together. We multiply the height times the width. They come up with the area. And we do the same thing for wall 2. Now notice that it says wall 1 includes one door. Uh, wall 2 includes a door. Okay, wall 3 does not. Wall 4 includes a door. Okay, and we'll do the same thing for room 2 and room 3. Okay, and then we're wanting to know the total surface area for the entire studio. So that means you add up the area of room 1, 2, and 3. And once again, with the area, okay, like, you see the 12. If you're going to use feet, it would be 12 times 14. If you're going to use the meters for the first one, it's going to be 3.66 meters times 4.27 meters. And then that's going to give you square feet or square meters when you're finished. Okay, so let's say if we had seven feet for our height, and we had 10 feet for our width, which would probably be 5. It's possible. 5 feet for the width. If we multiply those together, that's going to give us 35 square feet. So that's our final answer, square feet, 35 square feet. And so that's how we do the surface area. And let's get rid of that. After that, then we need to pull up the budget. Okay, so here's our budget. Okay, with our budget, we can see that the budget is based upon how much money we think we're going to spend. Okay, for production, for the equipment, for editing, and also for miscellaneous charges. So this is what we're thinking we're going to spend. Roughly around $1,622,197. From there, we'll take the budget analysis, and then we'll look at it. Okay, now read the questions very carefully. You got to show your calculations. That means you have to show your work, and then you provide your answers in that third column. So the first one says, what percent? Okay, so when you finish with your answer, it's going to have a percent sign on the end of it, like this, for the first one. So whatever you come up with, it's going to be a percent. Now for the second one, it says, what fraction? So when you finish with that one, it's going to have a fraction where you have a numerator over a denominator. So your answer is not good. Don't convert the answer to decimal percent. Leave it in fraction form. Okay, with the fraction, just make sure you simplify it to its lowest terms. So let's say, for instance, if we had $300 for milk. Okay, and our total food was, say, 1,000 for the total cost of all the food. Now, if the question says, what fraction is the milk of the total cost? Okay, so if they say what fraction of the milk is the total cost, the fraction would be represented as 300 over 200. Not 100, but 1,000. And then from here, we would simplify it down to its lowest terms. So 300 can be divided by 100. And 1,000 can be divided by 100. And then we'll come up with 3 over 10 as we simplify it down. I want to say the problems say round them to the closest hundredth. I mean, you can never go wrong with round it to the closest hundredth. Okay, so that's how the fractions are done, and then of course the percentage. Now, you would stop here on this problem, but if they asked us what percent, what percentage of the total cost is the milk, then we would keep going. So if they were asking for the percentage, we would take the 3 and divide it by 10. And then that would go like this. And so that would be 0.3. And then we move the decimal 2 places to the right and come up with 30%. So if they asked us what percent of the total cost is the milk, then that would be 30%. If we were asked what fraction of the total cost is the milk, that would be 3/10. Okay, so just watch how the questions worded and what they're asking. And if they ask you what decimal value of the total cost is the milk, that would be zero point 0.3. Okay, because there are 3 ways we can express the same value: 3/10, zero point 0.3, and then 30%. Okay, so these are all ways we can express, that value. So you'll read those questions carefully and then you'll look. For instance, they're saying what percent of the total production cost is the camera package. So we'll go and find total production cost, which is that yellow section there. And then at the bottom it says the total is 1,149,190. And then it says camera is, where is it at? What percentage of the total production cost is the camera package? Where's the camera package at? Okay, is that production cost? Okay, is that total production equipment or cost? What percent of the total production cost is the camera package? I see the camera package at 36,000. That needs to be changed because I think that's going to be production equipment and not total production equipment and not, production. Yeah, I think that needs to be total production equipment. That got moved around, but it's not where it should be. You know. Let's look at the grand total. Yeah, it could be referring to the grand total. It, let's see. Let's look at it. What percentage of the total production cost? Well, yeah, just treat it as such. Just treat it as the grand total. And you may want to put a note or ask your instructor about that. Just say that, the production cost, the total production cost And then that could be the case. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It could be, I would think, if that's going to be grand total, you can just say up the grand total because it's saying grand total. So yeah, that'd be something I want to talk to my course director about. Let's look at the other one. The visual effects is a little bit more clear. And then you look at the visual effects cost versus the total visual effects cost. Okay, so that's a little bit more. Yeah, so visual effects is um, well, the way you do the first question is go ahead and do it with the grand total and then just ask your instructor about it. That's the way you do it. Yeah, yeah, so yeah, do it that way. And then I'll let my instructor know about it. Well, not my instructor, but my director know about it. And then what'll probably end up happening is as long as you simplify or reduce correctly, and we can see where you're drawing from one of the totals, you'll get credit for it. But yeah, that's gonna be something that yeah, I think the second one should be worded editing as well. Yeah, I think it should be editing. Yeah, the total editing. Yeah, because that section is called editing. So yeah, but I'll get with my director and give her a heads up so that she can let the rest of my colleagues know. Because we just revamped this project this month, and so that's something that definitely needs to be looked at. Okay. But if you got a question about it, make sure you get with your particular instructor, okay? Because they'll be the ones. And if you've already done it, just put a comment in, just say you talked with Professor Clark and, you know, the wording, the verbiage was not quite clear on the budget analysis, okay? And that should get that taken care of. Okay, so that's the movie set. The The music studio is going to be similar to it. Shut that down. Go to music studio. Okay, so when we pull up the music studio and we look at it, uh, first thing we want to do is look at the rubrics. Okay, so we're going to see that the rubrics is the same rubrics. Okay, so everything in the rubrics is going to be the same. The only difference is going to be in how you do your 2D blueprint and your budget. The music guys got a different budget than the movie guys, so that'll be the difference. The dimension change, I'll pull it up just so you can see it. It's gonna pretty much be the same thing. You got room one and room two. You got the increase by 24% and the decrease by one third. So that's gonna be the same for everybody. So everybody will do those uh, conversions. And let's look at the surface area, and you'll see that that's the same as well. Okay, so the surface area is the same for everybody. So, and the reason why the budget and the blueprint, of course, have to be different. One, because the blueprint of a music studio is going to be different than the movie. You'll have the same dimensions, but just what the rooms are being used for, will be different. And then we have the final part of it's going to be the budget. So I'm going to pull up the budget. Okay, and here's the budget. We have recording expenses, additional expenses for recording, video expenses, and promotional expenses. And then we have a grand total at the bottom. And then here's our budget analysis. Okay, and so for this one, we have, I want to look at them. That's it. It says, what percent of the video expenses are the cameras? So we got the cameras and video expenses. So this one's correct. Okay, so we got the cameras at 8,000, and it says video expenses, and we can see the total there is at 30,000. Yeah, you do have to add furniture to your 2D blueprints. Let's pull that up and look at that again, just to make sure, but the wording should be there for you. So let's see. Mm, we'll find that. Okay, so we see that part. All right, so here's our plan. Okay, so it says you have to design a music studio, 3 rooms, okay, 4 doors and 3 windows. You have to design the perfect place for the magic to happen. This is your dream to make it come true. The measurements for each room, each door, and each window located on the following page. Use the measurement design your studios. You are to submit a 2D blueprint. Okay, measurements. You may use any format you wish to draw your blueprint. There are many great programs available. Yeah. Each blueprint must include the following: measurements for the walls. Each room must be proportioned, must be submitted in PDF format. All right, let's do this then. Let's go one more place just to make sure, because I'm not seeing anything on it there. Let's go to the rubric. Okay, walls, windows, measurements present, blueprint is neat, readable. No, you don't need to add furniture. I mean, if you want to add furniture, you can, but there's nothing in the rubrics that says you're going to be graded for it. Okay, that kind of concludes my presentation for project one. I'm going to open the floor up now for questions. So if there's anything in particular that you're working on your project and you want, the insight of one of the math professors, I'm here for it. Um, I don't have copies, Asa, of the blueprints. Okay. Probably the best thing to do is just kind of pull open the web addresses that we provided for you, because they'll lay them out for you. I think all you have to do is just type in the information. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So if you just kind of, let me see, move this to the project. Yeah. So if you just kind of go, yeah, if you go to homestyler.com and floorplanners.com, you can lay it out there. Um, you've got 3 rooms to put together. So, and then it tells you, it says, you're going to use 3 rooms. The dimensions have already been chosen for you. And the doors and the window sizes have already been chosen for you as well. So, these are your three rooms here. You've got your dimensions already laid out. So once you put your dimensions inside of the online software application, it'll lay out pretty much your rooms for you. Okay, so everybody's gonna pretty much have the same type of sizes. Everything else with working with either Homestyler or the other program, that'll be up to you. Everything, Andres, is due tomorrow. And Amanda, the how do you name the file? You name the file, your last name, first name, and project one. So if I was naming it, it would be Clark Terry. Well, you can get away with putting a plus in there like this, like that. So if I was naming it, that's the way I would name it. Put the plus in there to kind of separate my name. Yeah, you do have to show your steps. Okay. The way it works is if we go back to the rubric, okay, it kind of shows you, and it says 12 calculations are correct and in proper format. So, you do have to, for those, you don't really have to show your steps for those. Um, for the budget analysis, your work has to be shown, and it says it right there. For the surface area, you've got to have the proper units as well. Well, the windows and doors are already included in the general, and they are part of the surface area. Okay, any other questions for me? Okay, at this point I'm going to stop the recording.